everybody. Welcome back to Let's Be Honest. Today I wanted to cover a topic that is becoming more and more common, and that is the blended family. If you are unfamiliar with what a blended family is, it's when two people with children from previous relationships come together and merge their families into one. And the concept itself is a very beautiful idea, but sometimes it just can be challenging merging your life with somebody else's. So today I have a special guest who knows all about this. Not only is she part of a blended family, she's part of a large one. And she knows this better than anybody. She has a 17-year-old son named Brock, and 4 years ago she married her husband Matt and became the stepmother to 6 girls. That's right, 6. And as of last weekend, became a step-grandmother to twin girls, 2 more girls, and she's only 37, so it's just a crazy dynamic, but I thought who better to talk about that than my very good friend, Tracy Nelson. Come on in.
Hi, Robin.
Hi.
Hi.
That's all right. So first things first, I want to give a special shout out. Tracy made me this beautiful sign. She took my logo and did her like craft queen magic on my sign, and it's beautiful and I love it. It was a special gift to me, so thank you.
You are very welcome. It looks great.
It does look great. It looks perfect. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about you and Matt. So how did you and Matt meet?
My son did roller derby, and 3 of his daughters also did roller derby.
Okay.
So we met at the roller skating rink, I guess.
Fun. It's like middle school.
I know, exactly. Awesome. Yeah.
And how did you react when you found out he had 6 children?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. So when we were at the rink and I was watching them do practice, these 2 little girls came walking up to me and they were talking to me about their crush from the Jonas Brothers band or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was standing there with my friend Kathy, and I'm like, whose kids are these? Like, I've never seen these kids before. And of course, I already knew that Matt had 3 girls, and she goes, oh, those are Matt's. And I was like, wait, what? So it like took me back, like, really? How many kids does he have? She's like 6. There's actually an older daughter that doesn't do roller derby.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I was like, oh.
Were you hesitant to go into that relationship, or did it not really bother you?
Yeah, at first I was, just because I mean, we know how girls can be.
Yeah.
They are hands down, all about the drama and everything else. And plus I had Brock, and Brock, when he was younger, had dyslexia. So it was entering with caution.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the ages from youngest to oldest?
Right now, the oldest is 24, which she's the one that just had the twin babies.
Okay.
And the youngest is 9. She will be 10 here shortly.
Okay, so it's quite the span.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot to take on.
Oh, yeah.
Did it take some time for them to warm up to you when you first met them, or how did that go? It
actually was a really great transition because they already knew me from roller derby. The only one that didn't was Maddie, the oldest.
Okay.
And so when we first kind of started dating, we were just going to kind of test the waters, see, like, we had game night, it was just, we're going to have Brock and his mom over and we're going to hang out.
Okay.
Because Matt was still going through the divorce at the time.
Oh, okay.
So the transition was kind of easier for us, but as we started to, make it more that we were dating, it was kind of difficult because the girls, obviously they have their mom.
Sure.
And Brock was used to it because his dad and I, we split when he was about 3 or 4.
Okay.
So Brock was used to not having all those other people around. So the transition for Brock was really difficult when all of a sudden there's these 6 girls, another guy in his life. And he took it like a trooper though. And him and the 2 middles, we got the oldies, the middles, and the littles. So the two middles and Brock were very close because they're close in age. The one is 16 now and the other one's 14. So
Okay.
it helped there.
Okay. And that's awesome that he was open to that. I mean, that's a lot to take on for anybody.
Oh yeah.
So good for him. So once you guys moved in together, how is that transition? Obviously, it's a whole new lifestyle, incorporating other people into your routine. So how did that go?
The biggest transition that we had was when we bought our house, it was only 3 bedrooms. So for Brock to have his own bedroom, and then here you got all 6 of the girls and they're all in the same room. So the girls started to get kind of frustrated because they're always there with each other, and that kind of thing. So the transition as we went into it, the biggest thing was communication and to make sure that we're putting the kids first, because at this point the girls just went through a divorce between their parents.
Right.
That's a big traumatic experience. And obviously for Brock, it was, oh my Lanta, there's all these other people in my family and whatnot. So it was, how we handled it was we just individually, where it was like we would take Brock out one night and then we would take out Mallory the next or whatnot, just to kind of make sure that they were all okay with what was going on.
Okay.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we had to keep in mind was to make sure that the kids are okay.
Sure.
So I mean, not every day is all peaches and creams.
Right.
And we're still working through things, but it's good. It's good.
What would you say to other families just starting on this transition in their lives? What advice would you give them?
Biggest thing is patience.
Okay.
Communication, keeping the kids' feelings top of mind and top of priority, because they're the ones that are actually making the biggest change of their life.
Right.
We may be taking the change of our lives by separation or divorce or whatnot, but the kids are so young yet at this age, and they're vulnerable and they may be afraid to talk about it at school. So keep that communication open with them.
Okay.
And make sure that they know that you're there and that you can always talk to them.
Okay. So, and you said taking the kids out to dinner individually, which I think is a really cool idea. What other things have you done to just make sure, like, especially Brock not getting lost in the mix, because he kind of had you all to himself for a long time.
Very long time.
So how do you check in with him frequently to make sure things are still good, or how does that work?
Yeah, at first we did. It was like pretty much almost every day, like, hey, how's it going? And then he just started to get really frustrated, where it was, Mom, why do you keep asking me this? I'm okay.
Okay.
I went with Matt to pick out the ring. Like, we're good.
Oh.
So then it was kind of just periodically.
That's so cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he knew about it before you did?
All the kids did. They all were a part of the engagement.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off.
No,
sorry.
it's okay. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So Brock, I mean, after a while he became like really frustrated. So it just got to be where it was like we would just kind of like secretly be like, hey, how's it going? How you feeling?
Okay.
What, you want to talk about anything? And then for me and him, I still have that mom and Brock time.
Yeah.
Where we try once a week, where not even just going out to dinner or whatnot, just like even if it's secretly, he's downstairs in his room and I'm in my bedroom, we'll FaceTime.
Oh,
just
nice.
To kind of keep that communication open. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about your relationship with the girls? Does it seem more natural now that you guys have been, I mean, it's been 4 years, but, or is there still a little bit of a learning curve there?
There's definitely the learning curve, and I think there'll always be that learning curve. And the reason why I say that is because they're going through their transition in their life, and they go through the changes and everything else. So the attitudes, all of a sudden, it's like, well, where's this attitude coming from? And then me personally, because I take things very personal, where it's like, did I do something? Was it my fault? So then I start to walk on eggshells.
Okay.
And I mean, it just goes back to that, have that communication and try to have the patience with the kids because they don't want to always open up all the time.
Yeah.
Especially with social media, it doesn't help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they like to hide behind it and pretend that everything's okay.
Okay.
You know, so you try to navigate through the difficult times. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you go about co-parenting and merging those styles together? I mean, sometimes Mike and I don't even agree on raising our kids, let alone co-parenting with another parent that's not in that family. How does that work? Right.
So we're always gonna agree to disagree.
Okay.
Is the biggest thing. The communication there really it starts off rocky because there's those really hard feelings, especially in the separation, especially when it's a divorce. So at first it was just the communication was through email, through text message. That way there's no talking on the phone, just in case voices started to get raised, those kind of things. It saved a lot of arguments because you can just walk away from a text message and you know, you're not hanging up on somebody and, you know, because that could hurt somebody's feelings too. So it started off very slowly with the communication. I mean, Brock's dad and I, we still don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but I will tell you that our co-parenting skills, even with Matt and his ex, when it comes to the kids, if there's drama going on, we drop it and we're there 150% for those kids.
That's awesome.
And it doesn't happen overnight because, I mean, for the first 5-6 years of Brock's life, like Mike and I could never talk. Never. And I mean, there was so much anger built up there.
Okay.
And it just, all of a sudden one day just clicked, like, we can't do this anymore because it's reflecting on our son and he is number one.
So how do you decide where your authority ends, being the stepmom versus the mom? Like disciplining in the household, how does that work between you and Matt? What's that dynamic?
That's a great question. So when Matt is home, I mean, I make sure that I step back and let Matt handle it because they already have a mom and I don't want to overstep my bounds because I don't want to disrespect their mom. I mean, at all. So when he's not there, then it's kind of, hey, why is this happening? Like, why did we do this? Maybe it's time to take like a timeout. And when Matt gets home, I'm like, hey, this happened. We talk about it, and I let Matt take care of it on his end.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
And same goes for Brock. You know, where he has a dad. You know.
That's good. That's interesting because it's like you don't want to overstep those bounds. You want to be respectful, but at the same time, you are the parent in the household. So that's always interesting to me how that works out.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's not easy because, you know, there's things where, like, I'm a perfectionist. So when the kids
That's news to me, Tracy.
Yeah. I know. So when the kids do things, it, like, frustrates me because I was one of those where my OCD was so horrible, where it was like the ketchup had a place in the refrigerator, the soap needs to be like this, and you can't use that towel because that towel's used for drying your hands and this towel's for drying. And for the girls, that was one of the biggest hurdles of getting over Tracy's OCD, you know? So like when I realized that was coming in play of getting in between the girls and I had Matt like, hey, knock it off. It kind of like he was my rubber band, where he was like, you're doing it. you know, you're being so and so, and you know it frustrates you, so why are you doing it? But
it's hard though, because you know, you're you, and you just have to adapt to that situation, and it takes time. So I can only imagine taking on, well, 7, including Matt, 7 personalities, and you and Brock, you know, assimilating that. So kudos to you. I mean, you obviously figured it out, and everything is working out just wonderfully. So
yeah, I mean, still there's bumps in the road, so it's not going to be perfect, and therapy helps with that. So yeah, don't be afraid to talk to people, because I mean, it's a big transition for everybody.
Yeah,
not just the kids. I mean, the dogs, I feel bad for the dogs too. Here it's just a quiet house, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, here are all these crazy girls running around, and yeah, so.
Being that you've been through this, are there any resources that you found really helpful that maybe if someone else at home is going through this, or they know somebody that's, you know, just starting this transition, which again, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It just might be a little difficult to navigate in the beginning. So
absolutely.
what have you done that's worked for you?
What's worked for me is co-parenting counseling. That was one of the best things that Brock's father and I could have done, because it got us to understand that it's not about us, it's about Brock. So the biggest thing is, you don't have to have the same set of rules, but to give the kids structure, to have that communication of, well, this happens at my house, how do you handle things at your house? And to kind of keep them close. They don't have to be exactly the same, especially with discipline wise. That's one of our biggest downfalls, where we didn't communicate that, where it was, you know, Brock did this weekend. I feel that this should be taken away. We didn't communicate it very well with each other. And the thing that I would suggest is to not only have almost the same rules, but to make sure that when it was your weekend or it was your week or whatever with the children, make sure you kind of just give that other parent like a heads up, like, hey, this weekend we had this experience. You know, we kind of had this attitude happen, or it was a great weekend, they're in a great mood.
Before you send them off, let them know ahead of time what they're what they're in for.
Exactly, because communication's key, and if you don't have it, the children are the one that suffer.
That's great. Any other resources that people locally could find?
Locally, there's support groups like all over Facebook. There's support groups just out there. There's even I want to say it's through Safe Haven. They have supports out there too for people that are struggling with co-parenting and that are trying to get on that right track.
That's awesome. That's great. We'll link all of those things above. But, you know, I think any helpful tips are good for anybody, even if, you know, you think you have it on lockdown and everyone's good. We can all grow and get better. So
absolutely.
I thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, you're welcome. I was so honored when you asked me to be on your show.
Well, I thought there's nobody better to talk about changing your life and going into a situation that is you know, that drastic. One kid gaining 6. So.
And I will tell you, I will not change it for anything, because I love those girls just like they're my own.
Aww.
And I can't wait to meet the grandbabies.
Yeah, now you're grandma.
I know, crazy, right?
With 2 more girls.
2 more girls.
So you got 8 girls.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. They're going to be spoiled. So.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yes,
and if you have any questions, you can send me a message, and we'll see you next time.